chance to fly the largest jet in the Textron Aviation family, the Citation Longitude again, was something I couldn't turn down. I'd flown the super-midsize Longitude before in September 2018 and was impressed with its performance, and this would be an opportunity to get some more hands-on time. Luckily, Textron Aviation demo pilots Alan Pitcher and David Bodiak were able to fly to an airport close by, Hillsboro Airport near Portland, Oregon, so I didn't have to travel for this report. For our flight, we had 8,340 pounds of fuel on board, and our ramp weight was 32,265 pounds. Weather was nearly clear with light winds, but we would have a 5-knot tailwind for takeoff on runway 31 left. The rolling takeoff distance calculated by the G5000 avionics was 3,799 feet, plenty of margin on Hillsboro's 6,600-foot runway. Lining up on runway 31 left, I let go of the steering tiller and brought the throttles up far enough so the auto throttles took hold and smoothly advanced to takeoff power. The two 7,665-pound thrust Honeywell HTF 7700L turbofans shoved the Longitude forward, and it seemed like Pitcher's rotate call came fast. I lifted the nose into the flight director V-bars and the Longitude rose quickly, and it was a short time until we neared our 4,000-foot clearance level. Luckily, the departure controller cleared us to climb to flight level 270, so we didn't have to stop down low. After a brief halt, we resumed the climb. Passing through flight level 380, the Longitude was still climbing at 2,600 feet per minute. Fully loaded to the maximum takeoff weight of 39,500 pounds, the Longitude can fly 3,500 nautical miles with a full fuel payload of 1,600 pounds. It's a big step up from the Citation Latitude, which shares the Longitude's cabin width and height, but weighs 8,700 pounds less when fully loaded. At flight level 410, we leveled off and sped up to Mach 0.84, and at ISA minus 3 degrees Celsius, true airspeed settled at 479 knots. Fuel flow was 980 pounds per hour for each engine. The cabin altitude was a comfortable 4,900 feet, one of the efforts Textron Aviation engineers took to improve passenger comfort, which also included a strong focus on reducing noise levels. Slowing to a long-range cruise speed, Mach 0.739, dropped the true airspeed to 421 knots and 700 pounds per hour per engine. A typical long-range cruise is at Mach 0.8, which would deliver 457 knots at flight level 410, and fuel burn not too much less than at maximum cruise. No question about it, the Longitude likes to go fast. Heading back towards the Oregon coastline, we asked the controller if he could carve us out some airspace to work in. During the descent, I let the speed build to see how the overspeed protection worked. As the airspeed turned red and started moving into the barber pole on the speed tape, the autothrottle pulled the power back to reduce speed, and the autopilot eased the nose higher. I pulled out the fly-by-wire speed brakes during the descent and while at top speed, and they deployed smoothly with little rumble and no pitch change. Continuing the descent, I leveled off at 10,000 feet for some air work.
233 Charlie Lima, you want to cancel IFR for now?
Well, I hesitate on cancel. I like to keep the same squawk. We could, and then I want to pick up the IFR back at Hillsboro.
I slowed to 220 knots for steep turns. A 180-degree turn to the left followed immediately by a turn to the right. I probably should have slowed to 200 or 180 knots. The Longitude is somewhat heavy on the controls, but they do get lighter at slower speeds. However, the steep turns were a good handling exercise. I tried the low speed protection by slowing the Longitude in level flight all the way to stick shaker.
Airspeed.
Okay, so now the power levers are coming up. Speed brakes have stowed.
Yep.
And to power. Pretty straightforward.
Okay, nose and power.
And this time with the auto throttles disabled, I recovered by adding power and lowering the nose. With flaps down, I flew around for a few minutes to get a feel for how the Longitude would handle at landing speeds. The controls did feel lighter at slower speeds, but the Longitude is a large airplane, and sprightly handling isn't a feature in conventionally controlled super-midsize jets. I wanted to try another one of the autopilot's features, so I flew the first approach at Hillsboro, the RNAV 31 left, fully coupled, and planned to try a coupled go-around. The Garmin autopilot did a perfect job flying the glide path, and upon reaching minimums, I pushed the takeoff go-around button on the left power lever, then re-engaged the autopilot, which transitioned the Longitude smoothly back into a climb. I didn't want to leave the traffic pattern, so I shut the autopilot off with the yoke master disconnect switch and turned left to shoot another approach, this time hand-flown. With the flight director guidance and vectors from the approach controller, I turned back onto the final approach course, then with the landing gear and flaps down, slowed to match the green VREF bug on the airspeed tape. Of course, the auto throttles made things a lot easier. Landing the Longitude smoothly was easy with the trailing beam main gear, leaving no temptation to try to massage the flare to make a gentle touchdown. As the Longitude neared the runway, the auto throttles brought the power back, and I backed them up by making sure the levers were at idle, then pulled the yoke back just a little bit to level the nose. The main wheels touched just right, and then I lowered the nose and stepped on the brakes while adding reverse thrust. By that time, however, we had already slowed below 85 knots, and the reverse thrust was dialing back automatically, so it wasn't really needed. The Longitude is a capable airplane with excellent performance, a pilot-friendly flight deck familiar to any pilot who has been flying with Garmin avionics, and a cabin that is optimized for passenger convenience and comfort.